Okay, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Chaos Spring webinar. My name is Jake Kolanowski. I'm a Coastal Resilience Coordinator for the Wisconsin Coastal Management Program and the new coordinator for Chaos. On our agenda today, we have some group introductions, small group introductions, lightning talks from our 5 presenters, and breakout discussions. But first, for those people who are joining us for the first time, or those who could use a refresher, Chaos is the Coastal Hazards of Superior community of practice. As a community of practice, Chaos focuses on sharing knowledge and fostering collaboration to address coastal hazards like flooding, erosion, and lake level change in Minnesota and Wisconsin along Lake Superior. We accomplish this goal through regular meetings, field trips, and our quarterly newsletter, as well as direct outreach. These efforts are led by our Chaos Steering Team Committee, which includes members representing coastal organizations in both Minnesota and Wisconsin. And our membership is free, and our members come from many backgrounds. So if you're not a member and you would like to be one, you can contact me, and I'll get you added to our member directory. Before we get any farther, I just have a few housekeeping items to share. This webinar is being recorded, and if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please wait until our Q&A session to unmute and then ask them, or you can put them in the chat at any time, and our chat monitor, Clint, will share them. With that, it has been a while since we've come together as a group, so we're going to move on into some small group introductions. So in a moment, you'll be placed into breakout rooms of 2 to 3 people for about 5 minutes. Please introduce yourself if you don't already know the people in your group, and spend a little time sharing about the work you're doing to address coastal hazards in your area. And just a quick note with that, when you return, teams may take a few seconds to let you back into the main room, but you will be let back into the main room. So I'm going to set up those breakout rooms, and I'll see everyone back here shortly. Hello.
Hey, is this a breakout room?
I believe so. What are the odds, Lydia?
Very small world. Hey, Bill, how's it going?
Not too bad.
Well, nice to meet you. I don't think we've met before. I'm gonna turn on my camera because that would be helpful. Um, my name is Lydia Salas. I'm with the Wisconsin Coastal Management Program. I've been on the leadership team for Chaos for a couple of years now, but also just as a organization who's working on coastal hazards and resilience, it's really nice to stay connected with everyone who participates in this group. So it's nice to meet you, Bill.
Yeah, I'm from Bayfield, Wisconsin. I managed the marina here in Bayfield for 12 years. And the reason why I joined was to kind of keep track of various things. We had to have our break wall replaced during my tenure at the marina. So
Sure.
thanks to sea grants and some things like that, we were able to replace the break wall that was failing.
Oh, when did that happen?
It happened in 2022.
Have you worked with Todd Bribey at all at the Coastal Management Program?
Yes, a lot. Yep.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like you guys would have crossed paths based on what you're saying.
Hi, Tyler. We're in some small group breakout rooms right now, just introducing ourselves. Lydia and I are from the Wisconsin Coastal Management Program, and Bill is with the marina up in Bayfield, right?
I was with the marina. I'm retired now,
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
but I'm still hanging in there as, making sure we understand what's going on, what our opportunities are.
That's great.
So I can share it with the marina people.
Nice.
Well, hello. Yeah, I'm sorry I popped off and popped back in there. Just having a few issues here. Nice to meet everyone. Tyler Casper. I'm Lake Superior Planner and St. Louis River Area of Concern Coordinator for the Minnesota DNR. It's nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you,
Nice to meet
Tyler.
you.
So who do you coordinate? Do you coordinate ever with the Wisconsin DNR on the estuary?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wisconsin DNR, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, Fond du Lac Band, Lake Superior Chippewa are just a few.
Sure. Cool. Well, nice to meet you, Tyler.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Hey,
Hi, Becky.
Morning.
We are
We're
just
doing, sorry,
doing
I'm late. Introduction.
no worries.
We're
We are
just
just doing
some
some
brief intro. Sorry, Jake. I can't. I'm so sorry. We're just saying hi.
Yeah.
Hi. No. Also, yeah. I'm Becky Nicodemus. I'm in NOAA's Office for Coastal Management, and I'm on the Great Lakes team. And I'm based in Chicago, but there's a handful of us that are on the Great Lakes team, including Brandon Crumwoody, who's up in Duluth, and then we have a few others in the Twin Cities. But yeah, I'm the Great Lakes Learning Services Coordinator for the office, and also help on our Great Lakes Restoration Initiative funded projects. So happy to be here.
Nice. Welcome, Jeff and Diane. We're just doing some brief introductions in small groups. If you want to introduce yourselves.
Sure. I'm Diane Packett, and I'm the Coastal Beach Program Manager for Wisconsin DNR. And I work with coastal management sometimes. So this is my first introduction to chaos.
Welcome, Diane. Good to see you here.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeff and I'm a incoming postdoc at the University of Minnesota Duluth, and I'm just here to learn and take notes. My PhD research focused a lot on using remote sensing to look at erosions, things like that. So possibly that will be one of the things that I would do in the area of around Duluth and also Lake Superior. So nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When do
So
you start your postdoc, Jeff? Sorry.
The paperwork's still finalizing. We'll start in August.
Okay. Very cool.
okay, I think we're at about 5 minutes, so I'm gonna close the breakout rooms. I'll see everybody shortly.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had some good conversations with someone you didn't know, or maybe a good catch up with someone you already did know. But the next portion of our webinar is going to consist of 5-minute lightning talks from people who are working on coastal resilience projects in Minnesota and Wisconsin. So as a reminder, please save your questions until our Q&A session, or you can put them in the chat at any time, and then Clint will get to those. So please welcome our first presenter, Deanna Geelhoed, Climate Resilience Planner with the Arrowhead Regional Development Commission.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jake. And thank you for everybody who's part of the Coastal Hazards of Superior Community of Practice and all the important work that you all are doing in the region. Really grateful for these times to connect. And thank you for my fellow panelists, not sure if Kari is here today, but Tori and Erica, Sarah and Eric, looking forward to hearing more about the impactful work that you all are doing in the watershed. So I'm Deanna Geelhoed. I'm the Climate Resilience Planner for the Arrowhead Regional Development Commission, which is, there's 9 development commissions that cover the state of Minnesota. So this is the Northeast one. And who I work for, the Development Commission, and a couple other folks are sub-awardees on a large NOAA grant. And so I'll share about that and then invite my colleague Seth to introduce himself as well, who's co-coordinating this work with me. So on this slide, we can see the scope of the project. If you look at the map, the red boundaries is the ceded territory, 1854 treaty ceded territory. And the scope of this project from NOAA includes the counties along the north shore of Lake Superior, including Carleton County, since they are part of the watershed, and also the sovereign tribal nations within those boundaries, so Grand Portage, Bois Forte, and Fond du Lac. And these counties, many other partners, and these tribal nations are coming together to create what we're calling the Northland Climate Resilience Collaborative. So this is a group that worked together to write a proposal to NOAA for coastal and climate resilience work, and we're successful. And so we meet regularly to think about how we can do climate resilience in the region, and also welcome partners and other experts to share in this work. But our main objectives are to create this collaborative. It was sort of identified in previous gatherings over the past many years that there's a lot of siloing and there wasn't always capacity for people to cross these political borders within their work, and talk about, success stories and what works in the region. So this is a grant that's kind of helping bring people together and adding capacity and funds for folks to do that. So this is a planning grant through NOAA, $1.85 million over the course of 4 years. And a main objective over the 4 years is to create a regional resilience plan that can complement and bring together a lot of the other plans, that the counties and tribes and the treaty authority have, but sort of create an overarching regional resilience plan for the area. And that way we'll have a unified voice to influence policy and get grants and do lots of good stuff to help the watershed. So the main tenets of this are strengthening relationships and incorporating Indigenous knowledge in an authentic way into this planning, and training up our leadership team. And some of the folks, I mentioned the counties and the tribes, but also the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, the Minnesota DNR Coastal Program, the Soil and Water Conservation Districts, MDOT, the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and many other partners. Minnesota Sea Grant are part of the leadership team, which is established. But yeah, as I mentioned, we're meeting and connecting with all groups all over the place. And so this work is launching. We're still in sort of the beginning phases of this 4-year project. We're, figured out our mission and vision. We're working on a logo and that sort of thing. But really excited to share this with you all and welcome you to connect with this regional collaborative in any way that's helpful to your work. And one point of celebration I just wanted to mention is that we've had really good participation from all these folks on the leadership team who's been part of putting this work together. And we try to meet all over the region in order to kind of accommodate this huge geographic scope and all the diversity of partners within this work. And that photo there is the kickoff last fall when the grant started. We did some tours up and down the North Shore of different coastal resilience work projects that are happening. So yeah, I would like to invite Seth. If you're on, you can come off mute and just introduce yourself as the co-coordinator.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Seth Spencer. I'm an extension educator of climate adaptation at the University of Minnesota's Climate Adaptation Partnership. And yeah, I just joined a couple months ago. So joining Deanna, facilitating conversations with all these amazing partners and really focusing on what are our goals over the next 3.5 years. And yeah, it's been wonderful to see the buy-in that all of these stakeholders have and really making sure that we have a resiliency plan for not only the coastal land, but inland all the way up to the Canadian border. We are still going strong. We're one of the, it seems, few federal grants that was not cut. So we're moving forward, and it's been good so far, and know that we've already partnered with or had conversations with some of you. But I think one big thing is just making sure that we're not duplicating efforts, because we know there's so many great projects and plans already going on, especially along the North Shore of Lake Superior.
Yeah. And I'll add other ways you can be involved by connecting Seth and I, but also this work will offer technical assistance to communities in the region. We're creating a resilience hub using a lot of the data from Minnesota Climate Adaptation Partnership work, and bringing that into ways that are accessible for folks. And we'd be happy to connect with any of the initiatives that folks feel like could fit in with this work. So.
Thank you, Deanna and Seth. I hope there's some opportunity for CHAOSS to collaborate with you guys in the future.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thanks for presenting. Up next, we have Tori, Sustained Engagement Specialist with GLISA at the University of Michigan.
Awesome. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. So I am Tori. I work with a group called GLISA. We're the Great Lakes Climate Adaptation Partnerships team, or CAP team for short, and we're funded by NOAA. So in case you're not familiar with our network, our team is specifically housed at the University of Michigan, but we are a part of a much larger network of 13 teams across the country serving different regions that are kind of relevant to them. Our role is really to connect the dots between climate science and those, like many of you on the call, who are in a position to make decisions or take action towards climate resilience on a regular basis. And so we do a lot of our work through helping communities plan for changing weather and climate hazards. So as you can imagine, our team covers a lot of different topics, but I really just want to focus on one of our flagship programs called Floodwise Communities and highlight an example, a very recent example of how this program's been applied in the CHAOSS region. So for some background on the Floodwise Communities program, or we also call it Floodwise for short, this really focuses on helping communities complete local stormwater vulnerability assessments. And for some background, this program started back in 2017 and was brought forward by a group of cities that we were working with at the time, who acknowledged that vulnerability assessments were a really important tool for assessing climate risk, but they also noticed that there was a big barrier to completing these assessments because there was a lot of time and resources involved, some of that being financial resources. So really, Floodwise was born out of a need to create a program that could better meet the needs of local governments. So with this in mind, we've worked with over 70 communities since 2017 through multiple phases, and it's really been an interesting process to see the differences across different communities, but finding a program that works well for a lot of different local governments, including many who are focused in coastal areas, because in the Great Lakes region, we know that a lot of flooding can also happen in coastal regions. So what does this look like today? In its current form, Floodwise has a number of key goals. So at a baseline, we are completing those stormwater vulnerability assessments. On top of that, though, we do have a lot of education built into the program, kind of talking more about what vulnerability assessments are, talking more about current and future climate data and impacts, and then how that might look locally and regionally. And then we also have a large collaborative piece to the program. So communities that participate will organize a team within their community to complete the assessment. This could be different departments at the city or county, or also external partners at watershed groups. And so this just helps with kind of creating a more robust assessment with a lot of different perspectives and builds relationships that can sustain in the long term. And then we also provide opportunities to connect with different resource providers. So folks get an opportunity to access some of our data and resources, but also connecting with other local partners who can help moving forward. So the example I wanted to share today, though, that is more relevant to this group is specifically one of our most recent participants, which is Bayfield County in northern Wisconsin. And I believe some folks were on the call, and maybe I think somebody was going to be presenting here shortly from there as well. So you may be familiar with some of this work or some of the challenges that have been happening up in that area. So Bayfield County is currently wrapping up their Floodwise assessment with our team. And I also want to recognize our partners at ICLEI USA, who have also been co-facilitating this program with Bayfield. So when we first met with the team members at Bayfield County, they had identified a number of challenges related to heavy precipitation, flooding, storm surge, all the things that you might experience kind of living along Lake Superior shoreline. And then as we dove deeper with their team, it became very clear early on that highway culverts were a big piece of infrastructure that they wanted to focus on for the assessment. So you can see here in the photo on the slide, their community has been experiencing more 100 and 500-year storms, and some of these have washed out highway culverts, which many of you can relate, I'm sure, can be a challenge when working or living in a remote area when you rely on these key thoroughfares through the area. So basically, we worked with them to complete the vulnerability assessment. We explored local climate data, potential impacts to community, and also identified hazards that might come up in the future. So not just what they're experiencing right now, but how that might continue to change given the data and information that we have. So we kind of, we talk about, I like to think of it as more of like a SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So kind of on the threat side of things, we obviously identified some threats to infrastructure. We also found some other challenges like workforce concerns, housing, even down to the different materials being used to construct new culverts. And then on a more positive note, we identified some assets and opportunities. So we found, the highway department in Bayfield County is a really strong point of action. Really positive relationships and collaboration across the region, and a lot of ongoing efforts to increase resilience and move forward positively in the future. So with all of this information inventoried in one place, we're currently finalizing a full report of our findings with Bayfield County and working with them to identify some clear next steps for kind of taking action towards more resilient stormwater management in the area. And then this includes ideally connecting them with some local partners in Wisconsin as well who can help support some of those specific goals. So just to wrap it all up, it's been a pleasure working with Bayfield County, and maybe this resonates with some of you. We do have active opportunities to participate in the program, so if that sounds interesting, please don't hesitate to reach out. We would love to work with you on this. The program is free. And yeah, that's all I have for today, but thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tori. Really appreciate it. So up next, we have Erica Lang who is a conservation manager at the Landmark Conservancy. Erica, are you with us?
I'm not seeing her in the participants, Jake. She might have had some technical difficulties. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Sure, sounds good. Okay, so then up next, we have Sara Hudson, Recreation Coordinator for Bayfield County Forestry and Parks, previously with the City of Ashland Parks and Recreation.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm sorry my camera isn't working. I'm at a new desk, and so trying to troubleshoot it isn't working as well as it is. So as Jake said, I now work for Bayfield County in the Forestry and Parks Department as their new recreation coordinator, but formerly for the last 19 years, I've worked for the City of Ashland as their Parks and Recreation Director. And with this city, as many people before me have mentioned, because the city is on Lake Superior, we have definitely experienced some interesting, I guess, land management and land use and climate stuff that has happened within our shoreline. So on the left of my slide, you will see some of the big impacts that we had almost 10 years ago now, which is hard to believe that it's next year will be 10 years since we had a major flooding event. And that was definitely something I think that set the ball rolling, realizing that we definitely need to plan better, not only landscape wise, but I think within our little community and work with our partners. The City of Ashland does participate in the Lake Spirit Collaborative, which is a bunch of government and non-government entities that just work together to manage our landscape in a sustainable way. So the impacts that we had is in 2016, we had a major thunderstorm and flooding that pretty much closed all highways leading into northern Wisconsin. If you wanted to get to Ironwood, Michigan, which is really only 45 minutes away, it took you 5 hours because you had to go to Superior, then south, and then all the way up and around. We also then experienced just the city itself, a major windstorm, where we had wind gusts of up to 75 miles an hour. So that damaged a bunch of our parks, causing us to close down our parks for most of the season. Then a year later, I should say 2016 was a 1,000-year storm that was only supposed to happen every 1,000 years. In 2017, we had a 500-year storm, or maybe they're opposite. My brain gets them mixed up. But we had a major storm surge event that water rose 18 inches. So all of our waterfront parks in the City of Ashland has 5 of them. And about 3 miles of our shoreline is publicly owned. And so that storm surge rose lake levels 18 inches, covering all 4 lanes of Highway 2. It was crazy to see the snowplows out there clearing the debris as we went. 2019 then was a wind and rainstorm, another major event we had. And then in 2023, we had a record snow year, and our snow melted, causing us to have the first overflow we had had in 4 years, sanitary overflow. Some other impacts that we are working on are invasive species, trying to manage them, especially with emerald ash borer being detected within the city in 2021, and then climate change and varying the water levels. Living on the lake is always interesting. It's really beautiful, but you never know what's going to happen summer, fall, winter, or spring. Some of the resiliency issues are some of the resiliency efforts that we have done, and some of these are definitely more resistant than resilient, is that we've had to armor our shoreline. Again, not necessarily resilient, but just trying to keep the lake at bay and protect some of our public infrastructure. We've relocated pedestrian access away from the lake. So at times we've put in new sidewalks that are a little bit further away. We've used concrete instead of asphalt because concrete holds up to water a little bit better than asphalt does. We have also done some cured in place piping to help reduce our I&I, which is our inflow and infiltration. So stopping to reduce the amount of non-sanitary water that's entering our sanitary system, so we don't have as many overflows that lead into Lake Superior, and trying to improve our water quality. We've also started to implement some native plantings along our shoreline. So just not only trying to make it more aesthetically pleasing and better for our native species, but also just trying to keep that shoreline in place using the roots. We currently have a project that's happening with Superior Rivers Watershed Association that is just to restore some native habitat, specifically Manuman, and using the Gawa-Dinawag in Prentice Park to try to remove some cattails and see if we can get the wild rice to grow. Through our planning efforts and our urban forestry, we've been trying to increase diversity with our tree canopy. So as the ashes, we have to remove the ashes due to emerald ash borer. We're trying to plant with some more diverse species. And some of those species are definitely ones that maybe haven't grown here before, but just due to the predicted temperatures and less winter that we maybe have, we're just trying different species that see what they grow. And then one project that we do have happening right now is restoring our riparian corridor. Bay City Creek runs through town and runs into Lake Superior. And it's about 6 miles. 4 of it is within the city limits. And so we are doing a kind of a survey work and then trying to do some habitat restoration on it, and then also some stormwater surveying. So we really figure out how many storm drains lead into it, how big is that storm watershed, and how can we reduce the impacts that stormwater does have on Bay City Creek and then ultimately Lake Superior. That project will lead to a whole citywide storm sewer shed survey, but we're working on that. So that's kind of 10 years of work in a nutshell, I think. Lots of projects that we're doing, lots of not much of this could be done without our partners, both local, nonprofit, state, and federal. It's pretty amazing to see what we can do with a lot of help. And that's it. Thanks, all.
Thanks, Sarah. Last up, we have Eric Peterson, Forest Administrator for Iron County Forestry and Parks in Wisconsin.
Good morning, everyone. We're just down the road from the area that Sarah just talked about, and experienced a lot of the same weather that she had to deal with in her projects. But our project is the Saxon Harbor Lake Superior Shoreline Stabilization Project. Our project is located immediately to the west of our Saxon Harbor facility. Our Saxon Harbor facility was completely destroyed in the flood of 2016. We lost our campground and our 92 slip marina all at the same time. Federal disasters were declared. FEMA came in and we started rebuilding. And in the process of rebuilding 2018, we were hit with a second one and didn't have to go back quite to square one, but almost. We managed to get our marina and campground back open in 2019 and 2020, but after that initial flood event, Harbor Drive, which is what you can see here on the screen going up the hill to the right, that's the only alternate access to Saxon Harbor. Main access right now is County Highway A, but during that storm, the bridge and the culverts on County A washed out. So this project will produce construction-ready engineered plans to stabilize the shoreline that you see in the picture there that's eroding away. Since 2016, we've lost between 6 and 15 feet of shoreline, and we are dangerously encroaching the right-of-way of Harbor Drive right now. And with the higher lake levels that we've had and those storm surges and things that Sarah just talked about, they've really eaten away at the clay banks here at Saxon Harbor. Our project footprint starts is at the existing shoreline and basically goes 500 feet west, and we're going to wrap into that ravine that you can see coming in that picture. Jake, are you able to click to the second picture on that? If you have? Yeah, thank you. So this is a close-up view of what we're dealing with there, but we're going to use in our project, we're going to use soil borings and drone LiDAR mapping to get our contours, and it's going to be the plan is a combination of hard armoring stone, and then above that initial high water mark for Lake Superior, native shoreline restoration. The town of Saxon and Iron County Forestry Department are providing the match for this planning grant, unless we can secure additional funding, which we've been working on. I have applied for direct congressional spending for this project for completion of construction as well. And hopefully we'll be successful for that. But as we all know, that's a very competitive thing. But completion of this project will allow us to get construction going as soon as we can possibly afford to do it, because we'll have those construction plans at 100%. Our rebuild of our marina and campground project was just under $15 million. So this alternative access to that area is very important, not only for public safety, but for just general public access and use to the Lake Superior shoreline. And that's about it.
Great. Thank you, Eric, and thank you to all of our presenters today. Now we're going to have some time for questions. So Clint, do you have any questions from the chat to kick things off, or no?
We did not get any questions in the chat. Everybody was polite and waited.
They were engrossed. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Are there any questions from the chat right now? You can raise your hand and then unmute if you like. Okay, maybe I'll just kick things off for people. So I have a question for Sarah, if you're still on. I want to know, what has the response been from residents or park visitors in Ashland since you've made the changes that you have? Has it been
Oh, that's a
positive?
good question. It has been very positive. Some of them were not like as positive when we originally did it, but I think the impacts that those major storms had. So people were very upset that they couldn't go to Prentice Park for 8 months. And we explained to them, like, it literally is unsafe for you to enter these hiking trails. We can get you to the well, which is where they all wanted to go, and you can go to the playground, but I can't let you into this. And they're like, well, we'll just remove those. And it was like, no, 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 no. That's a whole liability that we don't even want to be able to get into. So I think after we experience something like this, the changes that we have made, they see it. And they also have seen the dollar signs associated with how much money it does cost to help implement these resiliency projects. I think when the waterfront, so we also had like 2,000 feet of our waterfront shoreline, our Arch Trail, Ashland Rails to Trails system that was washed out in one of the storms. And it went unfixed for about 5 years until we were able to secure funding. And I think they didn't realize how much like that type of infrastructure actually is too. And that we were hearing it from visitors and from locals that were like, this is just what we want. And every time we do propose a new trail project, we get about a 99.9% positive review, especially as it's close to the lakeshore, but just a little bit far away so that you can see the view, but maybe not experience the wind and wave action that some of it gets.
Great.
And then there is one more question in the chat that I can quick cover too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, another one just popped up for you too.
Yeah. And it was, in the 20 years that I have lived in Ashland, I have only seen that highway being covered in water once. And that was that 2017 storm. And then yes, we have talked about, one of the question is, I'm also wondering if there has ever been discussed about ways to capture rather than let it run off, the artesian spring water that runs continuously. I have internally thought about it, but I haven't heard anyone else maybe bring it up. I think that's a thought that we all think about. I, weirdly enough, want to turn it into like a water feature for kids to play underneath. Though I don't know if adults or children would want to play in 54-degree water. But, you know, they jump into Lake Superior all season long and nothing stops them. So it is something we have talked about, is how can we really use that water instead of it just go to the lake, which it's doing its job by, recharging the lake and going back. But yeah, it is. We have talked about it. What else could we do with it?
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
We have another question in the chat from Christine Bradoff. I hope I pronounced the last name right. Any thoughts about expanding chaos to Lake Superior shores in Michigan? Same issues affected by some of the same storms, Father's Day 2018 for the Keweenaw Peninsula.
Yeah, so I'm relatively new as the chaos coordinator. That is something that maybe if Lydia, would you possibly be willing to talk about why it was originally Wisconsin and Minnesota?
Yeah, of course. Wisconsin and Minnesota share the South Shore of Lake Superior, so it seemed like a natural fit for us to be communicating across state lines. I will say that we have folks in the chaos membership over the years from Michigan participating and joining us on webinars. So if you have ideas and questions and concerns, please reach out to the chaos team, and that would be something that we could talk about as a group. So yeah, it's a great suggestion. Thanks for bringing it up.
And then also Lydia maybe dropping a link for Calm.
Yeah, and the Calm group, I can drop a link in just a second. But the Calm group is Collaborative Action for Lake Michigan. It's a coastal resilience network, kind of a sister network to Chaos for the state of Wisconsin's Lake Michigan coastline. So there is probably some overlap and things there. But I know that the Lake Michigan shoreline of Michigan is also unique to it, has its own unique set of challenges. So I actually believe that there is some talk at the coastal program in Michigan for pulling together some sort of regional networks there. But if you have any specific questions about that or who to contact, I can definitely point you to there. I'll put my contact information in the chat as well.
Thanks a lot, Lydia.
Got to scroll up. David Grandmason asks, on Saxon Harbor project, was there any discussion about rerouting Harbor Drive where it runs parallel to the shoreline? Also, what impacts might there be for the shoreline to the west of the shoreline armoring zone? Is that part of the planning process?
Yeah, so rerouting. So the issue with rerouting the road there is we're in those steep clay banks that run towards the lake, and it's about an 80-foot climb, 75 to 80-foot climb out of there. So where the road comes down the hill now is about the only place that it's feasible to make one, and then there is private land on the south side of Harbor Drive and along the top of the hill that makes rerouting almost more of a challenge than what we're dealing with right now. So that's been looked at, but the feasibility of it for a town road is probably not doable. It's not financially able to be done by the town. As far as the impacts to the west, as you get west of the project area, the clay banks become those 75 to 90-foot drops. And most of that is county forest, and it goes for miles. So there is some private land farther down, but to actually try and do some work on that to stop that erosion probably would be financially unfeasible as well. So the main goal of this project would be to stabilize that shoreline where Harbor Drive comes down and runs parallel, to protect the long-term viability of Harbor Drive and minimize that erosion and sedimentation into the lake. And then I see there's a second question there. Yeah, so the design to be resilient for future storms and events. So what we have now in front of our Saxon Harbor facility about 21 years ago, it was hard rock armored. And through all of these big storms and floods that have came since then, that has protected the shoreline perfectly, quite honestly. So what we're looking at doing is extending that riprap down, and then as we climb up out of the the high water mark of Lake Superior, using native shoreline plants and shrubs to kind of armor and protect and tie that shoreline all back together. So hopefully we'll be able to take care of it with this project. And using the stuff that was done 20 years ago, we should be able to. As far as ownership issues, currently the county owns almost all of the lots on the north side of Harbor Drive, and the other landowner is not opposed to us doing any work there because basically right now it's unusable property north of Harbor Drive.
Thank you. And then Julie McDonald wants to know if the presenters working on local adaptation or mitigation efforts are facing any new delays or added obstacles due to changes with federal programs and funding. Oh, Eric, you're on mute.
I will say from our Saxon Harbor project, we haven't had any additional delays, although staffing levels could cause problems for us in the future on that.
This is Sarah with the City of, or formerly the City of Ashland. Currently, we haven't seen anything, but I think as we continue to want to investigate how to implement more climate resilience projects, we are going to find some obstacles with federal programs and the funding. We're a small municipality of only 80 to 85. It fluctuates, 100 people. And so I think as the challenge to meet just our basic demands, to redo our roads and continue to have clean water, it's going to be challenging.
Thanks, Sarah. Clint, any more from the chat, or have we caught up?
I was going to say we're caught up, and Scott has a question here. I'm not sure if I have a specific question, but I just wanted to point out the challenges that we have in the Bayfield Planning and Zoning Department when it comes to addressing the effectiveness of Lake Superior shoreline erosion projects, especially in the very unstable bluff areas where you have a combination of groundwater seepage at the top of the bluffs, as well as wave action during periods of high water levels. Are these effective projects? Is natural grading and vegetation a better solution in some cases than rock? Can they be doing more harm than good? We are trying to get up to speed on these issues so we can better educate landowners and evaluate projects as they come in.
Scott, can I ask a follow-up question to that? Are the projects that you're talking about, are they directly on the coast? Are they a little bit landward and just coastally related?
Most of the projects are kind of in that Port Wing, town of Orienta area that are directly on Lake Superior.
Okay, thanks. There's a restoration success monitoring project that it just kicked off in Wisconsin, and it's a little bit land like into one of the coastal counties that we have, but looking at looking at some erosion restoration projects and kind of getting at that question, is what we're doing actually effective? I will say that we have some time to chat in the breakout rooms, and that might be something that our others can relate to on this call.
Yeah, and I would comment on that as well. That was kind of where I was getting at with the area further west of our project area, as we get those real high bluffs, and it's exactly what Scott has talked about, the groundwater seepage. I don't know that it would be a winnable battle to the west of our project area, but in this specific project at Saxon Harbor, the erosion is a direct result of wave action off the lake. And we feel that the rock armoring along the bottom and then the native vegetation will stabilize and stay there. But once you get farther west to those high clay banks, I think Scott's exactly right. That's kind of a losing battle.
Eric, have you done any monitoring with the work that you've completed?
Like I say, the area that was done about 21 years ago is right in front of our park, and that weathered the 2016 and 2018 storms, the high water, seiches, all of that swimmingly, where there was no erosion problem there at all. So that project has worked, and we're looking at basically extending it more.
Thanks.
Diane, do you have a question?
Yeah, another question for Eric. So I was wondering, what is the current condition of the beaches and coastline at Oronto to the west of Saxon Harbor? I'd understood they were inaccessible. I don't know anyone who's been out there.
On the east side of Saxon Harbor, where Oronto Creek flows in, you can access the beach there, but you've got to wade across Oronto, and Oronto right now is about 4 to 6 inches deep, and rock there. Lake Superior keeps plugging that up, and Oronto blows it back out. So access to the other side is able to be done today. The next northeast wind, it might not be able to.
Okay. I actually have a question for Tori, if you're still on. How long about does the process take from when people come to you to when you get to the end of it with them?
Yeah, absolutely. We're kind of playing around with some different pacings that might work better for communities, but typically it takes about 6 months and I want to say around 15 hours of time. So we try to spread that out so it's not too overwhelming. We carry a lot of the heavy lifting of pulling the reports together and facilitating the conversations really for the cities. It's showing up, participating, sharing your local knowledge, reacting to some of the information that we bring into the process. So yeah, we kind of do, there's kind of like 5 steps to the process. So we have like a 1 hour kickoff meeting to kind of set the tone, set expectations, just kind of get familiar with the process is going to look like. We have another call to introduce some more of that climate data and information. And then the bulk of the program is really in the workshops where we complete the vulnerability assessment. So that's about 5 hours of time. And then, some back and forth after to finalize the report and talk about next steps. So yeah, we try to keep it as light as possible for the cities, but it does take some, participation to really get a lot out of it. And like I said, just kind of thinking through different ways to pace the program. So if cities or counties, whatever level of local government we're working with, maybe we do a 1 day workshop, to knock it all out and kind of get through it, or like spreading it out is easier, thinking about offering that as well. So we have some flexibility.
Nice.
I
Thank
have
you.
a follow-up question for Tori. Is the assistance offered throughout Great Lakes coastal communities, any of the states?
Yes. Yes. So we have opportunities throughout the Great Lakes region right now. That's correct.
Okay.
I'll ask another question for Deanna and Seth. So as like a collaborative, how receptive or how receptive have communities been along the shore? Or how hard has it been to like get input from them or work with them? Have they been pretty willing? Because I'm assuming there's quite a few communities along that stretch.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's like 150 communities in the region, ranging from cities of like 30 people to Duluth, which is a lot bigger. And so this first year of the collaborative becoming established is focused sort of on relationship building in our leadership team and sort of
Hmm.
getting to know each other's work and sharing strategies and getting trained up on some of the science. But so we anticipate there'll be a lot more community engagement moving forward. But without any huge efforts to do community engagement, we've had over 30 groups reach out to us showing interest in this work. So we've met with a lot of different folks who are involved on this call, and just learning about what are the priorities, climate resilience priorities of people working within this watershed. And so from that, people have been really receptive and excited for this work. It seems to be filling a gap of communications and things that people are looking forward to participating in. I think whether we're using the words climate or not, people are doing this work already, focused on resilience of infrastructure in the coastline and the forest and all the things involved with what makes our communities resilient, ranging from, housing, childcare to the more engineering solutions as well. So the issue for us right now is trying to hone in a scope of what resilience means to us as a collaborative. And we've kind of narrowed it down to like focused on ecosystems, people and the economy and how those things can come together with resilience at the center. Yeah, we're really looking forward to getting out in the communities more. We're kind of creating plans. We have some fellows joining us this summer for 2 years that will be working on outreach. And yeah, there's a lot of momentum right now, and we're looking forward to the engagement and keeping track of the priorities that come up in our region. Seth, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is as you said, there's a lot of interest. There's sometimes some like, what is the project going to do for us on maybe like a county board perspective? And then another is like, I think people are not aware of how many amazing projects are already happening or already out there. So that's another kind of goal of ours is to like, hey, did you know that all these amazing state, federal agencies are already doing coastal erosion planning and infrastructure planning because of the impacts that we've seen over the last 10 to 15 years with large precipitation events and changes to our forest ecosystems. And so, like, it can be easy to be like, we're not prepared, but there is preparation happening.
That's great. Thanks, both of you. I'm going to do a last call for questions. Either throw those in the chat or throw your hand up and we can get to them. Not hearing or seeing any. I think our presenters did a great job answering all of them, and they're really thorough. So I want to thank all of our presenters again, and thank everybody for your great questions. So we're going to move on to the last item on our agenda. But if you have any more questions that come up, you can always get in contact with us after the webinar, and we can try to get those answered for you. So thanks again, and I really appreciate all the presenters being able to share their work today. So next we're going to have a 20-minute breakout discussion. And the goal of these discussions is to share knowledge and foster collaboration on coastal resilience issues in the region. We have some questions to help you shape the conversation, but the point for these discussions is for them to be useful to all of you. So Madison Rodman, Lydia Salas, and Catherine Gannon are going to facilitate the discussions. They won't be recorded, but the facilitators will be taking some notes on content. So I'm going to open those rooms, and then in 20 minutes, you'll be let back into the main room, and we'll end with some short closing remarks. So thanks, everyone, and see you soon. Hey, Lydia, I need to assign you to the third room.
Okay.
But I think because you are a co-organizer, I do not know how to make that happen.
Can I can just join one. Oh, room 3?
Yes, please.
Okay.
There's everybody's faces. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for hanging in with us until the end of today. I think we're going to take a couple minutes to quick hear back from our facilitators about the discussions, and then we'll just close out and let you go. Do any of our facilitators want to go first?
I can jump in. Jake, can you hear me? My mic's been a little touchy today.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So thanks everyone in our breakout room. I know we got cut off with some good conversation. We had really rich conversation about a variety of different hazards, increased storm events, wave action, inland flooding, kind of communication with homeowners, and improving state rules. But really, one of the things I think I want to focus on kind of what steps people are taking and what we can do as chaos. So people mentioned that they're working to build relationships and trust with decision makers and landowners, and especially in a moment of staff turnover, how to increase communication between organizations to know which roles different folks play kind of in the processes relating to coastal hazards. And then thinking ahead to future kind of chaos events and opportunities, how do we create opportunities to network and share resources that have been developed? It sounds like there's a lot of great information out there, but we just need to find ways to share what we've done and how that can happen. So a really great conversation. Thanks everyone in our breakout room, and I will kind of keep it at that so we can close out with the other rooms as well.
Thanks, Madison.
I'll just echo kind of what Madison was saying. We had a real nice chat in a few minutes to coordinate as a group about some of the work that's actually happening on kind of the coordination, planning, education levels. So just to hear a little bit more about what's going on there and have the chance to connect about that. And we talked a bit about what resilience looks like and how really it means lots of different things to lots of different people, and having conversations with folks tends to be more useful to kind of figure out what that definition of resilience is versus having something predefined. So that's where we ended up.
Thanks, Lydia.
Yeah, I think we hit a lot of similar points as the other groups, just how collaboration is key to resilience, and everyone working together to kind of build off of each other's efforts is essential to making sure we make the most of our limited resources and prepare ourselves for future changes. And I think Madison also mentioned this a little bit about the policy aspect of, making sure we kind of have the general good in mind, making sure that one person's actions won't poorly impact another's is a key thing with moving forward with this resilience work.
Great. Thanks, Catherine. Okay, so I just want to give a final thank you to all of our presenters, participants, and organizers who helped make this event happen today. I want everybody to watch out for our quarterly newsletter, as well as the recording of this event will come out at some point, and look out for future events from Chaos. So with that, everybody have a great rest of your day, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jake.